Hello, I'm Caroline Marshall, and welcome to Bump to Business Owner, the podcast speaking to mums in business, you. I'll be in conversation with some of the most inspiring women and mothers in enterprise about their journey, how they created their successful businesses alongside raising their children, and what that looks like in work and family life. Hello and welcome back to Bump to Business Owner. I'm your host Caroline Marshall, and this is episode 2 of a 4-part mini-series we're doing, bringing my learnings from running a virtual assistant agency and addressing some of the most common questions I get. And this is really specified at, although any service-based business owner, you'll, I'm sure, learn something from this, but it's really based at VAs. Look, the one question VAs want to know is how to get clients. And it's really funny because I did a guest podcast with a lady called Catherine Gladwin. If you've been in the VA industry a while, you will probably know her. She's one of the well-known voices and trainers in the VA industry, and she kindly asked me on her podcast to talk about starting a virtual assistant business and juggling motherhood, which is everything I know about. So we had a great time, but we were talking about getting clients, and she said, did you have some secret, some recipe, something people don't know about to get your clients? And I was like, no. She had no idea what I was going to answer that. I think she knew, because there is no secret to getting clients. Everything that is available online, a coach, a trainer, about sales, about using your network, it is all out there. But I am going to tell you how I got my first clients, how I keep getting clients, and what I keep testing to get clients, and also a little bit about my follow-ups and things to give you some confidence in doing that. Because actually really well timed today, a lady I follow in EA How To, and she's got an amazing network of assistants. Check her out, Alicia, on LinkedIn. She put up today how loads of people, and actually mainly women, not stereotypes, say they are not salesy. I think as running a business, you have to be salesy to an extent. I get it, relationship building, not wanting to, especially if you're selling yourself essentially. It's different when you're an agency. If you're running a business selling other people, you've got to do more outbound sales. If growth is your goal, that's what you've got to do. But it's definitely different if you're solo founder, just looking to have a good solid client base for yourself. She said, but the truth is as well, assistants need to be more salesy, which she was talking about in-house ones, because you've got to show your worth, show your value. You do. And that is something as an agency we're constantly trying to work on. Because in our industry, it's very challenging to quantify in real-time data how we make people feel, which is it essentially with the assistant industry. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the sales side. So I'll talk about how I got my first client, but it was very lucky. It fell in my inbox. I wasn't even looking to start the VA business there. I was working part-time 4 days a week. A lady I worked with, this is why relationships are key. I worked within the NHS, so not even my last job, reached out to me, knew I'd gone into the virtual assistant world. She had a friend who was a copywriter, needed VA. And I was like, actually, I'm not doing it anymore, but I might think about maybe if I can make some more money outside of this job. And knowing she was a freelancer, it wasn't going to be a heavy client. We started on 10 hours per month. I had that retainer with her, and I told her I worked 4 days a week so I could do Fridays, evenings, and do the hours around there. And that's what worked for both of us. So I took her on. So it meant when I went full on the business, I had this one client, and I asked to hop on a call when COVID happened, because I was like, thinking, oh, I'm at home, not working at all. And I was really open with her. And this is where being open with your current client base and telling them to recommend you, or asking, I thought is really, really important. So I got on with her because I firstly wanted to check like how she was doing as well. And that showing that level of caring for my clients, because I wanted to make sure, did she still need me? It turns out COVID was great for copywriters. They were really busy. So she needed me. But she was also committed with working with me. She was an excellent person. But I said to her, like, I think I'm not going to have a job anymore. I'm going to go full in with this. And she recommended me to her community, and I did really, really well. Copywriter content communities, just like the lovely VA assistant industry, we're all very friendly and refer each other and recommend each other. So I got some great business out of her, and that was from being vulnerable and being open to it. And it was really interesting because I couldn't take on loads of work straight away, and so it wasn't like oh, she recommended me, and next week all these clients came. It's a slow burner. It's like planting the seed. There was one guy I started working with a couple of months later, and I'd already done a job for him, and he'd given me in exchange for a lovely testimonial. I did a great job for him, and he gave me, I also got paid for it, but he also, part of it was like, can you give me a testimonial as well? Which is a great tip as well. I forgot I did that. I'm just thinking this as I started. If you're starting with new clients and it's like a one task you're doing as well as setting a good rate, say to them as part of it, like, this is my rate. I also, as part of doing this work for you, want a testimonial out of it. And that is okay to say when you're starting out. Like, other service providers get it. They really do. And what's the worst they say is no. And I carry this a lot in life. I think my dad used to bring me up with the thing of like, if you don't ask, you don't get. But also caveated it with, you may ask and you still don't get, but at least you asked. And I thought that was like a much better way of pointing it, because it's like, yeah, you're not gonna get everything you asked for, but at least you tried. Is the moral of that. So I think that's a really good tip when you're starting new, ask those testimonials. And yeah, so it didn't snowball from that, but a couple of months later, back to my point, was that in their community, I think they have a Slack community or something, he was like, oh, is there anyone that can do this? I'm struggling with my inbox. And she was like, Caroline can do this. So he needed that extra nudge, and it does take extra nudges to be like, put yourself out there. And then so I got it. That was a natural, being honest and vulnerable, and then having no shame. And I still don't, to an extent. If it's going to lead to work, if it's going to lead to business, paying my bills and meeting my goals, I will go for it and I'll pitch myself if it's right. Obviously, I have learned over the years the things that's not right and the things just to be like, not try too hard for. But I got people I worked for in the past and sent them emails. And I'll tell you what, I did not hear back from most of them. Maybe any of them. I don't know. But one of the guys I emailed, I'd worked for him as a VA a couple of years before. I knew he didn't have anyone. Didn't hear back. Fine, whatever. Years later came back to me because he'd seen, I don't know whether he'd seen the email and just ignored it. But he'd seen I'd been on LinkedIn. So there we go as well. It's like, he had never engaged in my content ever. I didn't even know. He never responded to my email, never engaged in my content. I had no idea if he knew I still existed or did this work. But he reached out to me because he did know that. He'd seen me be visible. And so there's two lessons there, is like, have no shame. And actually that was something I learned from like a friend of mine in the founder community, Rebecca. It was like, she was talking to someone starting out, and she's like, you've just got to be shameless, and talking about another friend of ours who would hand out flyers to the school friends kind of thing. And I necessarily wouldn't recommend that as a VA, although I have had work from one of my class group, and yeah, it does feel class parents, and there is extra pressure with that, but it went really well. So, yeah. He's got a fantastic person working with them now, thanks to me, so it was worth it. You never know. So that's my next tip. So we've covered the fact of be shameless, be vulnerable. You never know who you're talking to. So this is such a great story as well. And my sister is looking for a finder's fee from this, which is not sure. I'm going to tell you what, it's still not working out. And I'm going to talk about follow-ups in a minute, because that is the next key. And what I am particularly good at is follow-ups. So because I know that's where people struggle. It's like, again, that whole salesy thing. But I got a LinkedIn message from someone I met doing a Wim Hof ice bath session last year. And she was working at LinkedIn at the time, which, okay, I thought was really interesting, but I didn't think of her as a potential client. Me and her just got on, and she messaged me recently. And because my sister bought me this experience for my birthday, she's now looking for a finder's fee, which I'm taking her on a spa day for her birthday. I think I've covered that in that. So sorry, Alex. I hope she's listening. And it's not happened yet, but I am following up with her. And I met her somewhere. I had not gone to this place. I'd gone to this place for healing, not for clients. You just never know when they're going to reach out, and you never know people from your past who are going to reach out to you because they're seeing you on LinkedIn. It happens quite a lot with me. So that's where the being visible really helps, because you never know. And even my husband, bless him, he's so good at like getting me visible in front of people he knows, and it never comes to stuff, but you just never know with these people. And then this is where I'm going to come to follow-ups. So I'm going to tell you, it takes, I think it's on average, it might be 10, but I've also seen 5 to 12 follow-ups before people turn. And I was just talking to a client earlier, and he said it was 7 months on average for him to go from lead to sale. which isn't a bad timeline, but he has to keep them warm during that. You have to follow up with them, and it's okay. People get it. Especially, I love selling to fellow service-based businesses because they just get it. And also, even if it's a one line of like, no, we're okay now, I'm like, okay, that's fine. And I might keep them on my Christmas list to send a Christmas email, and it's just popping. And I've had responses from that. So I'm not selling to them. I'm just saying to them, Merry Christmas, or season's greetings, whatever is appropriate. But it's showing, oh, I'm still here, and we talked once, and like, yeah, they don't respond. Fine, whatever, it's fine. But I am really good at that. And also, a little tip from me, I had a call with a service provider, and they were doing one of their follow-ups, and they saw an article, or said they saw an article that they thought of me and thought, oh, it would be of interest to me. And I think that was a lovely touch, is like finding an article. I think it's probably about motherhood and business, really a really standard article, but it was like such a nice little touch, like saw this and thought of you, like you're a similar fit to this, and it was just really relevant to what I was talking to the woman about. And that's always a nice little touch. So follow-ups don't have to be, are you going to buy from me? It can be like, did you get my email? And I'm not an expert on this, by the way, but it is what has worked for me, is focusing on those follow-ups and not letting them drop. And this is where I'm not saying you need to go and invest in a big CRM. I think sometimes people get really distracted. I start out and need a CRM because you got to build it, and that's going to take time. So just use a spreadsheet. Honestly, I'm still using a spreadsheet. My leads are still good enough in that. We're moving over to Notion. It's just taking time to build, but we're at that stage now. We're 5 years in. Start with a spreadsheet, and it'll be worth it. And test. And this is again what I was talking with a potential client about this morning, who wants just some sales support. Actually, 2 clients want some sales support. So it's a really timely podcast. You've got to test it. And with both of them, that's what we're saying. You've just got to try it. And so I am testing LinkedIn outbound, and I'm testing it, tweaking it. I've had a really great client through it. I think at least but one really good client, trust me, vision board worthy client. I can't say who they are yet. Maybe at some point I can. But really well-known founder, let's say, like globally well-known. And that's what I'm trying to tell you. I wouldn't have got that without testing this. And I got support from a sales coach on it, because she was in a network I'm in, people raved about her, and it felt really cringe. And she was like, that's sales, Caroline. And I was like, okay, fine. So I got used to it. And like anything, it's like putting the first post out on social media. It gets easier, and also you can start to get kind of disattached to it. I'm quite good at that, and that's what I encourage, because if like someone gets annoyed about a sales message, that's fine. They're not scaling a business, maybe they're not your client, and that's absolutely fine. And it's not about you, they don't know you, it's not personal. And I think really separating yourself from the sales process is really healthy. So those are my tips on getting clients. What I'm also doing in December, if you're an assistant, if you're a VA, there's a network called Strategic PA. I am hosting a co-working for VAs. I'm sure assistants are welcome. Reach out to Strategic PA. We'll put all the links in the bottom. It's on the 4th of December, and I've got an amazing panel of VAs at different stages of business, different timelines. But I know who have all got really great clients and retained them. And we are doing a session on that, which I'm really excited for. So if you are a VA, you're an assistant, it's in London. And do message me if you think you might be interested, and I can share with you all the details, but we should have it in the notes as well. But just try and test and be brave. Be brave. Your clients will be out there, and find where they are. I didn't cover that, but that is key as well. Don't be hanging out in Facebook groups if you're wanting to work with corporate clients. And likewise with LinkedIn, if you're going to be working, I don't know, with beauty salons and things like that, you might find them, or plumbers. They're not going to be on LinkedIn. They're maybe going to be in the Facebook groups looking for client themselves. I hope you enjoyed this. I'm Caroline Marshall. Sign up to the agenda on Substack, because we've got lots of tools and resources there that align with this mini series that we've been doing. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for listening to Bump to Business Owner. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. Please do rate, review, follow, or subscribe wherever you're listening. It really helps us to connect with more mums and business owners. You can DM me on @BumpToBusinessOwner on Instagram, and I'll be back next week.